Hello everyone, Kentu Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers, continuing on, kind of, in our Survival Series 2. So I made an erroneous statement the other day. I got to a little more analysis here on the visuals, and I had made a statement that you can't really tell which direction the beam drill turret is facing. That is not true. And I think I have an angle here that kind of demonstrates that. So if we look at the bottom, we have the side to side on the gimbal here. And if we look at the bottom, it's kind of recessed in. And if we look at the top, it kind of has this little divot coming up. So that's actually the front where the divot comes up of the turret ball, the actual gimbal assembly. So I'm going to paste this in, and you can see, so this is the one facing up. We're going to go ahead and, we're going to go ahead and rotate that so the divot piece is facing down, a little bit hard to see, and you can see that that one's facing that way. So what am I doing here? Well, I decided that this piece here really, I really don't think it's going to work out. So what I went ahead and did was go ahead and dismantle a likeness of this down to this assembly here, and I think we're going to go with that. Which is really to say I'm creating a flat plane that we can paste together and turn it into something that I think is going to be a lot more practical. So let me get my grind color here. One of the things I discovered, there are a couple blocks that, of course now it's going to make a total liar out of me. There are a couple blocks that I've found in the game, and this may or may not come into play here, that ultimately do not grind down by the BRS system and the build and repair system, and I don't know why that is. So if we look here, we have everything happening in front. So I painted it my grind color, this hideous, nauseating hot pink, and it's grinding. I mean, you can see that it's got the little grinder star here, but it's actually not grinding. And what I discovered, and I've discovered this on a couple other blocks. They're all modded blocks. None of the vanilla blocks behave this way. But you see the whole. Even though this system has plenty of blocks that could be ground down, it's not. It's completely hung here. The only way I know to get around this, ironically enough, is to pull out your own grinder and grind it down, and then magically everything starts working again. So I know these turrets, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is about the turrets themselves. Everything else grinds down fine, but the turrets will not grind down. So I'm going to go ahead and grind down the turrets just to keep everything in motion here. Okay, I gotta offload before I start dumping blocks here. I guess I really could dump blocks because, after all, that's the build and repair. Will make this easy because we just click. So for those of you who are brand new to Space Engineers, or even seasoned engineers who weren't aware of this, if you have this top whatever in the list, okay, so this is my personal inventory here, this is the list, right? So let's demonstrate here. So this is the top in the list, right? So if I were to double click, everything would go into here, and this is always true. If you top click, if I top click, whatever is the top thing in the list, it doesn't even matter what it is, it will move this across. So double click, move the whole stack. But it's only the top list. So in this case, we have main supply 1, main supply 2, and I want this because this is my components container. So I wanted this up in the top. So if you select something that is a name to this, now all of my cargo, my main cargo things are listed supply. So if I said container supply, it would narrow down to just the supply containers. But because I also numbered the supply containers, then I know this is number 3. So now I have a completely unique name. It filters by that completely unique name, and now that is the top of the list. So I can do the double click thing, and it will just literally stack in on top of these guys. Right now I have ISI set up to grind down, or rather dismantle, all the excess components back into, so obviously with the assemblers it dismantles them back into component materials, and then you can use those at a later time. Whether that's the wisest thing to do, I don't know. It's really kind of up to your personal preference. Okay, the good news is it actually did dismantle everything, even though I was not done. So that's kind of the random thing. It gets stuck. You grind it down with your personal grinder, and then magically everything works again. So anyway, so what we did is a little bit. We expanded a little bit. So we added a 6th, and why did I add the 6th? Well, it's kind of one of those OCD things, and I failed at the OCD thing. So here's what we're going to do. 8, 2, change back to Tiger Orange here. So my idea here was alternating, right? So down, up, and we did an up, up, down. Oops. So we're going to cheat here, and so now that I can actually see which way we're facing, so there's the down, we'll delete that one and do an up. So once again, I was erroneous in my statement, and we have now figured out how to determine which way you are facing the entire gimbal. So there we go. So there's now 3 down, 3 up in this particular orientation. Now keeping in mind I'm under the thing, so it's really going to be 3 port, 3 starboard. And then what I wanted to do is paste these together. Now the final thing here in pasting is I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these guys, because ultimately I don't need 3 antennas, and I don't need 3 ore detectors. I only need the 1 ore detector. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that, and get rid of the antenna there. So in this case we're going to go ahead and paste more Kenti batteries in, and we'll go ahead and put those the right color so they don't instantly grind down. And these are, I think, facing the right way here. Yep. So we'll go ahead and paste those in. The other thing that we want to do here, and just because I'm a little OCD here, I'm going to end up changing a few things. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to put the batteries here. That will be the same as what we did before, and we'll just go ahead and delete those. Back over to number 4. This is going to be a number 5, which is the elbow. Then we have the straight throughs, this and like this, and then we have a number 6, which is a T. So we're going to flip that over the correct way and attach this in. Now, the idea here is this provides this singular, sorry get out of the landing pad there. We have this get up far enough that the sun is not directly in your eyes. So we have this now conveyor system that goes all the way across and connects all of these drills laterally. Now this is a little bit redundant because the drills themselves have ports on the ends. Let me go ahead and demonstrate what I'm meaning here. So with the port on the end here, this is actually connecting to one another. So this is a little bit redundant, not necessarily unplanned, just redundant. So again, pull. We will change a few things here as we go. So I don't know if this is in the perfect place. It probably is just fine where it is. So this is going to not really be a very elegant vessel at all. I mean, it's a mining ship, which I don't know if any mining ships are particularly elegant. So it's kind of in the same venue as this guy here, other than it'll be a little bit lower profile. Not much, but a little bit. And so the idea here is Control C, and we ultimately want to paste this right on to the other one here. So, and I suppose, does it matter which direction we're facing? And in fact, because it's an even number, it's gonna, if I rotate it around, it's gonna be the same on the other end anyway. So if I were really being OCD, then I would actually have to completely change. Having said that, this might be a fun project. Might be fun. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll paste. Paste. See if we can. Paste. Oh well, interestingly enough, these didn't realize that these would paste back to back like that. It seems like. Oh, actually, I know why. Because the turret has to paste on the front here. All right. So having done that, and let me show you where I'm going with that. I can now paste this guy in. So we will go ahead and do that. Boom, pasted. And the idea here is that on these beam drills in the center, I'm going to alternate. Why? Because. So there is. Huh. Well, this is really strange. So when you paste, it turns. So the divot is on the bottom, and when you paste, so if my theory holds here, so right now the image, the divot is on the left, right? Divot on the left. So my earlier statement said the turret will be now facing left, and let's see if that's true. So the turret is facing left. However, if we look at the image, the model, the divot now moved to the right side. So the indent is on the left, the divot is on the right. Okay, so I wasn't incorrect in what I said, but the model moves. All right, so here's reversing, and we know that one's going to go there, and this one here. So strangely enough, the entire model shifts 180 degrees as we go here. Now, the turrets being able to swivel in every different direction is the way it points really doesn't matter. You could face them all the same direction. You can face them all forward, aft, port, starboard, however you orient. Obviously, this particular build right now does not have an orientation of any kind. So in my mind, they're going to be facing port and starboard. Is there really a port and starboard given this machine? No, not really. Where you put the cockpit in this case is really going to be where the that's going to create the orientation of port, starboard, forward, and aft. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to put this is very wasteful if you're not running in a creative mode. So this one is facing this direction. I'm going to do 4, which is the straight through, and go down here to the end. I'm actually going to drop down, and so in this case I'm going to take off this top row because I don't want it, and we're going to add on the end. So basically, because I have creative mode enabled via Space Master, I'm going to take advantage of that. And then every third one here we're going to change to the T, which will then connect in our drills. And again, these are redundant from the perspective of the drills are all connected planar. So all the drills are connected side to side as well as forward to aft. So these 3 things are actually not only redundant but a little bit silly. Alright, so here I have created, so what we're going to do here is go ahead and nuke all these from side to side. And so here we have forward, aft, and down, and then we want to come across. So in this case I have this edge connector, this edge conveyor, which I'm going to use over here as well, reversed of course. Then we have the 4, which ultimately is going to connect here, and then here and here, and we will put a 5, correction 6 here, which is an all-way conveyor, because I want to come up right there. Alright, so there we have it. Now, the next thing we're going to put back in, which we removed on the other vessel here, we need, these are both going to be Kenti blocks. So we have the Kenti antenna, which is actually based on the model of the ore detector. Why did I do that? Because this is a 1 by 2 by 5. Okay, so 10 blocks. The ore detector is a 1 by 1 by 2. So I did that on purpose. Alright, this is a cargo teleporter, and we need a Kenti conveyor sorter. Alright, so what are we doing here? We want to put, now I'm going to consider this aft and this forward. Is that an arbitrary designation? Yes, absolutely it is. So this is an ore detector. I'm going to plug this in here. You notice this is the 2K ore detector. It actually goes out to 2,500 meters. And in the olden days, this worked really well. Then we did some iterations on how it did everything. They called it optimizations, and maybe perhaps it was. But an ore detector totally and completely broke the game. It would freeze while it was trying to determine this 2,500 kilometer radius, or sorry, 2,500 meter radius, and it would absolutely freeze the game. So I never had it recover, and eventually I think they fixed that to the point where it actually could calculate and figure out. So what I'm doing in this case is putting this thing in, and right now it's set to the neat thing about the ore detectors that they built into the game was now it has a slider, so you can actually say what range from 0 up to the max range of the detector itself, and it starts by default at half. Okay, so right now this is set as 1125, right? So half of 2,500, or sorry, 1250, 1,250 meters, because that's half of 2,500. On the other side here, in this case the port side, we're going to put in our antenna. Alright, so having done all that, we have batteries left here, and in fact let's go ahead and paste the batteries in, because so the batteries, and we'll paste these all the way into this far end down here. Get my orientation set up so we can do planar. Okay, so we have, in this case, the drills, the drill turrets, everything pretty much underneath. The only difference between this one and this one is really I'm being a little more intelligent in how I'm pulling everything off. That's really the only difference. Now, one of the other things that we will do after the fact is actually put in thrusters. And so we're going to do the same kind of thruster idea that we did on the other one. So, having done that, we need an elbow here. So we'll go ahead and put that one in. We're going to face it to the aft. Make sure I've got this. There's the aft. We need a sorter next, which is going to be a Kenti sorter, because the Kenti sorter actually has right, so there's a Kenti sorter. Right now the Kenti sorter is not it's not drain all, so it's not actually doing anything. There's no real configuration at all. We do 3, which at this moment is so what I want to do here is make sure I've got the orientation right. So I've got my upper label here facing forward. So this is a Kenti Elsewhere container. We're going to skip a block because the refinery is going to be there, and we will put the other container, which will ultimately be the cargo transmit container there. Number 4 on this toolbar is my refinery. So we will go, I'm not putting an element extractor on here, even though I probably should. So I have to find the right, there we go. Nope, not there. There we go. Okay, so that's the right side up. And then I just have to figure out, there we go. All right, so if I want to be creative here, so we put one, depending on how much work we got going here, it might behoove us to have 2. So I'm going to put the second refinery here. I'm going to scroll back to the element extractor OP2. And get it rotated around the correct direction. There we go. And I'm going to put one of those in. So 2-to-1 ratio. Usually I end up kind of doing 3-to-1. So if I have, or approximately 3-to-1. So if I have 10 refineries, all have either 3 or 4 element extractors. Not really any reason to do that. The element extractors work pretty quickly, and it's really kind of up to you whether you want to use any of them or not. There's a lot of mods out there. There's probably 4 or 5 mineral extractor mods out there that take ultimately it takes stone. But what you do is you have stone, it's going to go through your refineries, it's going to become gravel, then the element extractors will take the gravel, so it's partially processed, and extract the trace elements. And trace elements is really the key phrase here. You take like a kilogram of any of gravel, and you'll end up with like, point 1-2 kilograms of uranium, something. It's trace elements. The good news is it destroys the stone. So in the end, you get rid of your stone, but you have trace elements out of it. So that's why I like them. And OP, this is OP on multiple fronts. It actually has a pretty generous yield, and it's a 1x1x1 block. So that's why it's the OP2. Okay, some of the other things that we need to do here are the well, let's go ahead and name things. We're not going to take possession of anything yet, and the reason I say that, so this is elsewhere storage. So beam drills. Drill 01. So I should in the end have 18 drills, right? So this is 04. 5. Oh, it's because I still... Of course I didn't save. And I tend to not send logs because they're not going to fix it anyway. Alright, so we're at a half hour. So the intention will be to get back to the state that we were in and then resume video. So I'm going to go ahead and chop it off here. Crash is probably a good place to stop. So this is Kenty Tiger signing off. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.